Why do the people we love become invisible while we are trying to take care of them? You remember the appointments. You pay the bills. You solve the emergencies no one else even sees. And because you are doing so much for the people you love, you assume they must feel loved. Then one night, the person beside you says, "You don't know me anymore." Your first reaction is disbelief. How could that be true? Look at everything you have carried. But perhaps carrying someone's life and seeing the person inside that life are not the same act. On the harbor path in Port Rowan, Elena Mercer told her husband that she no longer felt visible in their marriage. Daniel responded by listing everything he had done for the family. By the time he reached the end of the list, Elena was crying, and Daniel still did not understand why. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Wise Mind Stories. In this episode, we are going to explore Frankl's understanding of love, not as romance, rescue, or sacrifice, but as a way of seeing another human being more completely. You will also learn one 10-minute practice that can make someone in your life feel less alone today. The harbor was almost empty. Rain clouds hung low over the water. Fishing boats knocked softly against the docks. Elena walked with both hands in the pockets of her coat. Daniel was still thinking about Arthur, the unfinished boat, and the moment Sophie had asked whether her grandfather would forget her. Then Elena said, "I don't think you see me anymore." Daniel stopped walking. "What does that mean?" "It means you know my schedule. You don't know how I am. I ask you how you are. You ask while you're opening email." Daniel felt accused by the person he believed should understand him best. He reminded her that he was managing Arthur's care, that he had taken the promotion to protect the family financially, that he had arranged Sophie's school pickup, fixed the leaking kitchen pipe, negotiated the insurance paperwork, and canceled 2 work trips. He built a case for his love from evidence. Elena listened until he was finished. Then she said, "You keep us functioning, Daniel. But I am lonely standing 3 feet away from you." That was the part he had not measured. You can be indispensable to someone's life and absent from their experience. For years, Elena had painted. Not professionally, not for money. She painted the city in weather. Fairy lights blurred by fog, red umbrellas under street lamps, reflections that made ordinary sidewalks look like another world. Daniel used to find her in the spare room after midnight, with blue paint on her wrist. He knew this about the woman he married, but he could not remember the last painting she had finished. "Are you still using the studio?" he asked. Elena laughed once, without humor. "The studio became your second office 8 months ago." He pictured the room, 2 monitors on the desk, acquisition binders stacked where her canvases had been. He had not noticed their disappearance. "Why didn't you say something?" "I did." Daniel searched his memory. Elena nodded as if his silence answered for him. "I stopped telling you things because you turn every feeling into a scheduling problem." She had found a marriage counselor. The first appointment was Tuesday. She was going whether Daniel joined her or not. The emotional reversal was beginning, but he was not ready to see it. Daniel believed love meant doing more. Elena was asking him to stop doing long enough to encounter her. Frankl describes love as one of the ways a human being can realize meaning. But his idea of love is more demanding than affection. Love allows us to grasp another person in their uniqueness, to perceive not only what they are displaying in this moment, but the possibilities held within them. This is not inventing a fantasy version of someone. It is not controlling who they should become. It is seeing more than their usefulness, their symptoms, their mistakes, or the role they perform for us. A patient is more than a diagnosis. A child is more than potential. A spouse is more than the person who keeps the household from falling apart. A father losing memory is still a person whose dignity exceeds what he can remember. Love begins where usefulness ends. On Saturday, Daniel went to Arthur's workshop alone. He had removed the cameras. The tripod was folded in the trunk of his car. Arthur was sitting at the bench, running his fingers over the unfinished boat. "Michael," he said when Daniel entered. Michael had been Arthur's younger brother. He had died 20 years earlier. Daniel felt the correction rise instantly. "It's Daniel, your son." He wanted recognition because recognition would prove that some part of the old relationship remained. Then he remembered Sophie's face when Arthur could not find her name. Daniel sat down. "Tell me about Michael." Arthur smiled. For the next 15 minutes, the workshop changed time. Arthur was 12 again, stealing crab apples with his brother behind a church. He remembered the hole in Michael's left shoe, the whistle their father used to call them home, and the day they tried to build a raft that sank before either boy could climb aboard. The memory was vivid. Then, it vanished. Arthur looked around the workshop. "What are we doing here?" "Sitting together." Arthur nodded. "Good." Daniel had entered the room wanting his father to see him. He left understanding that love sometimes meant seeing his father even when his father could not return the recognition. In one of the most intimate passages of man's search for meaning, Frankl recalls being driven to forced labor in the darkness and cold while guards struck the prisoners. His mind turned toward his wife. He did not know whether she was alive. He could not reach her or protect her. Yet inwardly, her image became intensely present. In that experience, Frankl understood that love reaches beyond physical possession. The person we love can remain inwardly real even when circumstances make contact impossible. This insight did not rescue his wife from history. She had been killed. It did not soften the crime or replace the person who was lost. It revealed something about love's direction. Love attends to the being of another person, not merely to what that person can provide in return. Daniel still had Elena beside him. Yet he had reduced her to functions so completely that he was living as if she were absent. Frankl also describes moments when prisoners encountered beauty, a sunset, a distant landscape, a fragment of art or humor even within degrading conditions. These moments did not make the camps beautiful. They showed that the human capacity to receive beauty had not been fully destroyed. Logotherapy calls this an experiential path to meaning. Meaning can arrive through what we create, but it can also arrive through what we truly encounter: a person, music, nature, beauty, truth. An experience does not need to produce anything to justify its place in a life. That idea was almost incomprehensible to Daniel. For years, he had measured every hour by output. Even family time became a project with an objective. The workshop recordings would preserve a legacy. The promotion would create security. The calendar would prevent decline from becoming chaos. But the afternoon with Arthur had no output. It was meaningful because Arthur was there, because Daniel was there too. Presence is not empty time. It is where another person becomes real again. On Tuesday, Daniel joined Elena at the counselor's office. He arrived 4 minutes late. His phone was in his hand. Elena looked at it, then at him. Daniel turned it off. Not silent, off. The counselor asked Elena what she missed most. Daniel prepared himself for criticism. Instead, she said, "I miss being interesting to him." That sentence dismantled every defense he had brought into the room. He remembered the harbor paintings. "What would you paint now?" he asked. Elena looked surprised, then suspicious. "Do you actually want to know?" "Yes." She waited, testing the silence. Daniel did not fill it. Elena described a painting she had imagined for months. Arthur's hands resting on the unfinished boat, with the workshop window reflected in the varnish. Not a portrait of decline, a portrait of craft remaining inside a changing life. As she spoke, her face became animated in a way Daniel had not seen for years. The possibility had been there all along. Love did not create it. Love allowed him to see it. The next weekend, Daniel carried his office monitors out of the spare room. Elena did not thank him. She helped him move the desk. Repair, like trust, did not arrive as one dramatic scene. It appeared as reclaimed space, an hour without a screen, a question asked without preparing the next answer. On Sunday, the family took Arthur to the harbor before sunrise. Sophie brought hot chocolate. Elena brought a small canvas. Arthur watched a line of gold open beneath the clouds. "Your mother would have painted that," he said. Daniel did not correct him. Elena began to paint. For 7 minutes, no one tried to preserve the moment. They received it. This is the practice for today. Choose one person you love and give them 10 minutes of witnessing. Put your phone out of reach. Ask one real question. Not "how was your day?" If you are prepared to accept, fine. Ask, "What has been taking up the most space in your mind lately?" Or, "What is something you stopped telling me?" Then do not fix. Do not compare. Do not turn the answer into a plan. At the end, tell them one thing you heard. 10 minutes will not repair every relationship, but it can interrupt the habit of living beside a person without encountering them. This is Sarah. And this is Wise Mind Stories. Love is not only the work you do for someone, it is the attention through which they become more than a role in your life. If someone came to mind during this episode, do not save the question for a perfect moment. Ask it today. And if you want more stories about the ideas that shape a human life from the inside, subscribe to Wise Mind Stories. That night, Daniel went to bed without his phone. For the first time in months, the room was quiet, and in the quiet, his heart began to race. The acquisition presentation was 3 days away. He imagined standing before the board and forgetting every number. He tried to force himself to stop thinking about it. The thought became louder. He tried to make himself sleep. His body became more awake. By 3:14 in the morning, Daniel had discovered the next trap. Sometimes the harder we demand that fear disappear, the more power we give it to stay. Next episode teaser. Daniel has finally become present enough to see his family, but silence removes the distractions that kept his fear hidden. With the most important presentation of his career approaching, why does every attempt to force himself calm make his body more afraid?